So once again, as the Mets look like maybe they're getting back on track after 2 wins against Atlanta to end the last series, they just get embarrassed by the Pirates. One of the worst teams in baseball just absolutely embarrasses and demolishes the Mets over 3 games. The Pirates outscored the Mets 30-4. And that's just something that can never happen. Now, full disclosure, I didn't watch a ton of baseball this weekend. I wasn't really around. I was following along in the box score, but I was busy doing other things. And honestly, it should have been the type of weekend where you didn't have to watch. This should have been an easy series win against a team that came into the series, I believe, 32-50. Or 35-50, something like that. Some other garbage record. The Mets should have easily taken over this series. It shouldn't have even been a contest. Now it's Major League Baseball. Any team can win on any day. But the Mets should have been the better team. They're the clear better team in this series. And once again, the offense goes to sleep and they can't pitch. And you can blame the injuries all you want. You can sit here and say, well, we lost Canning and Senga and Manaea's not back yet. And you could talk about all that all you want. But it wasn't necessarily their 7th, 8th, 9th starters that blew up this series. Peterson was terrible in the first game, and this is the second start now where he's been really bad. Then this comes after I was talking about last week or 2 weeks ago that Peterson was becoming one of the best left-handed pitchers in baseball, and it wasn't a fluke. And then he gets blown up in 2 starts. Now, I'm not going to give up on Peterson. I think he'll be fine in the long run. I think this is just a little blip for him. I don't think that he's now a bad pitcher, but it wasn't an injured guy. It wasn't a replacement guy that got beat up. It was Peterson. And then in Game 2, the idiotic decision to bring Blackburn back after an hour-and-a-half rain delay, it derailed the game there, and he clearly had nothing when he came back into the game. That was just a dumb decision, and it was a decision that smart managers don't really make. And I understand Mendoza's situation there, the predicament he's put in, where his bullpen's overworked. And he doesn't really have guys who can give him length because he's had to use the bullpen so much. But it's still just a time where you bite the bullet and put someone else in the game because you have to. Because Blackburn was never going to have anything coming back into that game. He just wasn't. And he showed it. And Blackburn's not a good pitcher anyway. Who knows what would have happened if there wasn't a rain delay? He could have given up 10 runs in the second inning, and it could have been just as bad. But it's still a decision that you don't make there. And then in Game 3, Frankie Montas gets blown up in the first inning. Now, whether you like the Frankie Montas signing or not, which most of us don't, right? And he was good in his first start. He's not a replacement player. He's not a replacement pitcher. He's not in the rotation because someone's hurt. He was signed to be one of the top starting pitchers in this rotation. So he's not a replacement player. Yes, it's only his second start of the year, but it's not the replacement pitchers that are getting blown up. It's the regular guys. Clay Holmes can't go 5 innings. Peterson's getting blown up in 2 straight starts. Montas just doesn't look like he's a real pitcher at this point. Although he did pitch well in his first start, I'll give him that. Whatever. Maybe he'll be okay. I don't know. But it's not just the replacements that are getting beat up. So you can blame the injuries all you want. I can't blame this series on the injuries. And honestly, you look at the bullpen, everyone has regressed. Brazaban can't throw strikes. They're just nobody on the pitching staff is really performing right now. And that's a problem. After having the best pitching staff for the whole year, they've really struggled. And yes, injuries have something to do with it. Pitchers not going deep into games have something to do with the bullpen struggling. But it doesn't look good right now. And I don't know where obviously Senga and Manaea should be coming back soon, hopefully. And that could fix a lot of the starting pitching. But the bullpen has to be fixed too. You're going to have to, they're calling up new guys every single day and they don't perform, right? So I don't know how that's all going to figure itself out. I believe it kind of will once we get some health back in the pitching rotation. It'll all kind of work itself out. But there is concern right now because even the guys who were performing well for you just aren't anymore. But really, at the end of the day, like this has been all year, the offense is the issue. They scored 4 runs in a 3-game series against probably the 3rd worst team in baseball. 4 runs with Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto and Pete Alonso and Brandon Nimmo and this lineup that's supposed to be good has just done nothing. And they've done nothing all year. They have spurts. They have games where they score 12 runs and they look unbeatable. And then they don't score more than a run or two for the next week. It's just complete inconsistency, and it's been a problem all year. And at this point, it's just a problem that they have. This isn't a bad stretch. This is more than over half a season now. Maybe this is just who they are. And they badly need a bat at the trade deadline. Probably multiple bats. And I think the biggest issue, we could talk about, Chavez and Barnes and the hitting philosophy and all that. And you may be right if you say that Chavez should be fired. You could absolutely be right about that. But at the end of the day, these hitters just are not hitting. And the biggest issue is that coming into the season, there was guys that you were relying on that just haven't performed. Whether it's Alvarez, who was awful and now he's in the minors. Whether it's Vientos, who looked terrible, then got injured, now he's back. He's looked bad the whole time. Beatty's had a couple of stretches. He's been bad. Acuna never got any playing time, and when he did, he struggled, and now he's in the minors. These are guys that you were relying on to be big parts of your lineup, and they just really haven't. McNeil hasn't been great, but he's been fine. McNeil's not an issue. He's not the issue on this team right now. It's really the big guy. Lindor hasn't been the same since he broke his toe. And, hey, he's got an excuse. He's not going to use it. He has a broken toe. Maybe he's not feeling right. Maybe he's not getting the same power. I don't know. But he clearly hasn't been the same. He's not the guy that we saw early in the season where we said, hey, he's not having his early season struggles. This is great. Well, now he's having his mid-season struggle. I think his batting average is down to like 260 now after he was hitting 300 a month ago. So I don't think it's the coaching. I don't think it's the philosophy. I think it's just these guys are regressing. Mark Vientos was supposed to be a big bat in the middle of this lineup. He hasn't done anything. And he was there with Chavez and Barnes last year. So he was fine last year with Chavez and Barnes, but now this year he forgot to hit because Chavez and Barnes decided to change. I don't understand the reasoning there. It could be, maybe they tried to change everyone's philosophy, but why did that happen? I don't believe that happened. I think these guys are just not as good as we thought they were. I wasn't a big Vientos believer coming into this season, and he's kind of showing that. I think it was kind of fluky last year. I think he's a guy with a lot of power. He's not a great hitter. He swings at bad pitches. He's just not very good. And I'm not even mad at this point about this team. It's more like in shock. Because this offense was supposed to be great. You remember in spring training, Brandon Nimmo and Alvarez saying that this should be the best offense in baseball, and what are they? I mean, they're terrible. They're not even a top 15 offense in baseball right now. And they get their hits, and they score some runs sometimes, and they hit some home runs, but they can't hit with runners in scoring position, and hopefully that all evens out. Listen, that's really the big issue here. If they're hitting with runners in scoring position kind of evens out to what the average is, then they should be a lot better going forward. But at this point, do you have any hope that that's going to turn around? I don't, because you watch it and they just look lifeless. They look like they just go to sleep. I've been saying it all season long. They have these stretches where they just look uninterested. And maybe they're not. Maybe that's my perception of it. But that's what it looks like to me. It looks like they just go through the motions and don't really care. And that's an issue. And I know they had a team meeting after Game 2 in this series, and they spoke, Lindor spoke up, and Alonso spoke up, and now we're hearing that Soto spoke up. And it worked last year, but obviously it didn't do anything this year, because then the next day they go out and lose 12-1. It's not like you're running into the Dodgers here, or a great team that's on a hot streak. It's the Pittsburgh Pirates. This should have been an easy walkthrough series. But it wasn't, and they got beat up by a terrible team, and they're an embarrassment right now. Now, as I've said many times in the past, baseball can turn on a dime, and tomorrow night, after this off day today, maybe they're working on stuff, maybe they're figuring it out, and tomorrow they can come out and look great and go on a run and win 7 or 8 games in a row. It could happen. But it doesn't seem like it. It just doesn't seem like this is a team that really is capable of that right now. But it can happen. And I'm hoping it happens. I'm still holding out hope. I'm not giving up on this team. I don't think they're going to end up in last place and fall out of the playoffs. But that's a possibility now. And that didn't seem like a possibility a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, it seemed like, even if they fall out of the division, they're still going to be a wild card. They're still one of the best teams in baseball. And the Mets are honestly lucky that the Phillies haven't been playing well, because they're only a game and a half back in the division. A streak like this, they're lucky that they played so well early on, or bulked up their record so early on that it didn't push them out of the division lead by a lot. Normally a streak like this, you'd be 5, 6, 7 games out. But they built enough of a lead early on where that's not the case right now. But they have to get it together. And I don't know what the solution is on the offense. Winker's playing in rehab games. Does that fix anything when he comes back? I don't know. I think Winker adds to the lineup. He's better than what they've been throwing out there. But he's not a savior. He's not going to save the offense. He's just not. Are they going? They're not going to. And the people who talk about firing Stearns and firing Mendoza, you're ridiculous. If you want to fire Chavez and Barnes, go right ahead, and that might happen. If this continues, I could definitely see that happening, because someone's got to pay the price, and someone has to be held accountable for it, and it will be those guys. But it's not going to be Mendoza. It's not going to be Stearns, and we've tried for so long not to be viewed as a Mickey Mouse organization. And we finally have the right people in there, and now everyone wants them to get fired. Good organizations don't do that. They don't go on a losing streak and clean house. That's not what they do. Now, if they continue this way and the whole season goes like this and they fall into last place and lose 20 games in a row, then yeah, maybe that's a discussion of Mendoza being fired. Stearns isn't going anywhere. So all the people who say Stearns ruined this team and blah, 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 he's not going anywhere, so live with it. He's here. You don't just fire a president of baseball operations after 2 seasons because you have a losing streak. It's not going to happen. That's the old way, the Mickey Mouse organization stuff. That's not what they are anymore. And Stearns is going to be patient. And we saw Steve Cohen this morning. He kind of chimed in on the situation, and he said it's frustrating, and he's frustrated, and he didn't see this coming, and they're going to get through it and keep the faith. And I think that's kind of the mentality you have to take, because the Mets are not as bad as they've been playing. They're not, even with all the injuries, even with regression from some pitchers, they're not as bad as they've been playing, and the offense especially. You're just having down years from guys. And yes, the runners in scoring position issue should kind of even itself out at some point, you hope. But right now it's kind of hard to keep the faith because they've been that bad. I'm not going to get into too long of a thing here. Honestly, at the end of the day, it's not. There's nothing I could do about it. There's nothing you could do about it. We just have to hope that they get through it. And we have to hope that this is rock bottom. Because really right now, the only place to go is up. They've been so bad the last couple weeks that the only thing they can do is get better. Maybe this is their rallying point. Last year, 5 games, losing 5 in a row to start the season and really struggling, being way out of it in June. And they finally said, hey, we got nothing to lose. Let's just play baseball. Well, now they've got nothing to lose. You just got embarrassed by the Pittsburgh Pirates. So now you got nothing to lose. Now nobody thinks anything of you. Get back up, play, have fun. And try to get out of this. And hopefully that's what they do. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, please subscribe, give me a like, comment whatever you think. I know this is a negative video. I'll probably get comments with people saying, you're being negative. Well, if you're not being negative at this point, then you're just not paying attention. Sorry, that's just a fact. You can put all your trust in everybody and say everything's going to be fine, but there are real issues with this team, and they have to be addressed. Are they going to go out and get a big bat at the trade deadline? I hope so. Can they go out and get a starting pitcher at the trade deadline? Hopefully. Can they go and get a back end of the bullpen kind of guy? That's what they need. They need 3 more players on this team. And I think a lot of their issues can be solved. With Winker coming back, you get another bat, their offense gets longer. It's not unfixable at this point, but it has to be fixed. And I don't think they're in a position right now to do that. You're still a month away from the trade deadline. teams aren't selling right now. So I think they just have to kind of hold the line here, try to get some wins, play at least 500 ball until the trade deadline or until their pitchers get healthy and they can really start to compete at a high level again, and then see what can happen at the deadline. I think that's your hope right now. Tread water until these guys come back and until you're able to maybe add to the team. But yeah, hopefully that's what happens. Hopefully they surprise us and go on a run here and win 10 games in a row. And then make us all look stupid for having worries. Hopefully. Hey, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong and there's no issues on this team and all the people who say you're not allowed to be negative are proven right. I hope they are. But they're not going to be. There's issues here that need to be fixed. Anyway, that's all I got. Enjoy the off day today. And until next time, let's go Mets.